So here's the Raccoon deck that I scrubbed out with. Yeah, I not too sure what in the world happened really. Like having another think about it between the end of the last video and this one. It's just I thought it looked pretty fluid. It looked pretty good in my opinion, but it just didn't work out for me in the slightest. I'm not too sure what could have possibly caused it. Maybe I could have. I know I did a couple of screw ups here and there, which kind of could have been helped, but whatever. It is what it is. I'm just gonna show this off now. So obviously, Raccoon's setup is the triple Pwn Poco and the Tan, pretty much about as standard as it gets for these guys. It's not Raccoons without these guys. And then I actually opted for triple Valerie Fawn. I feel as though I might not have actually used this thing to its absolute maximum potential, because in a lot of situations, there were a few situations where I tried to hold it back in order to save it for using it on either my Wind-Up Kitten or my Calentosa, and obviously when I used on either of those it was actually very, very effective, but I feel like I could have used this maybe a little bit more. Like I initially planned on 2, but I decided because I felt like this was such an integral part of Raccoons now that it's pretty much standard to run it at 3. It is a brand new card from the new set, so for anybody who actually doesn't know what it does, the effect, its actual effect reads, you can discard 1 card, then target 1 level 2 or lower beast-type monster in your graveyard, except Valerie Form, Mystical Beast of the Forest, special summon it in attack position or face-down defense position. You can only use this effect of Valerie Form, Mystical Beast of the Forest once per turn. So, I think my biggest issue was not thinking of the defensive option and not just, recycling my Tan, which in theory, I don't know, I feel like the lack of, I felt like I wanted to try to drop my Calentoses into the graveyard as quickly as possible so that I didn't dead draw them, but the problem with that is it requires, in order to get them back and to use them again, yes, you can use this, but the problem is it does require a discard card for its cost, and outside of maybe the second or third Obedience School or a Calentos that's already in your hand, you don't have a lot of stuff that you actually want to discard. You don't really want to be discarding stuff like your Wind-Up Kittens. You don't really want to be discarding stuff like Poco or Tan. I mean, I suppose you can go for Tan if you're planning on setting him, because I mean, as long as you have something in the graveyard, you can just discard for cost and bring back that monster you discarded for cost, obviously. But I don't know. I think if I ran this deck again, I don't think I would change the number of this, but I might actually be ballsy enough to max out on Calentoses. And today I was only playing 2 of them. I mean, I remember back when I won the local, I only ran 1 of these, but the thing is, 1 is not quite as... It's not really that great now, because you've got Valerie Fawn. I mean, if you decide you want to play 1 and it works out, then it's fine. I might give that a crack. I mean, I did win locals with a deck with this deck, and I only had the 1 Calentosa in it, so stranger things have happened. But I don't know. 3 Calentosa. The big issue with that is that it is a very horrible dead draw. One of my games, actually, now that I think about it, I opened both of this and both my Ayers Rock Sunrise. Do I even need to say anything about that? That's probably the ugliest hand you could possibly open in Raccoons. It was just terrible. But you gotta run the both of them because they go together like spaghetti and meatballs. So it's a thing. 2-1 a Kitten. It just gets around a whole bunch of shit because I know there was a Battling Boxer player there. I expected a handful of Gigas, so to just have a simple way to get rid of Gigant. Whether or not they actually had the foresight to run a Gigano for the floating of the Gigant is a different story, but I sort of just prepared myself for it, and obviously gets around stuff like Dante, El Shadow Winder, that sort of stuff, so I was quite content with it. At 2, it did pretty well. Then played the Tree Otter. I believe one of the OTKs I did not actually require this, because I already had big enough tokens as it is, but I did get it off against the Ghost Trick, so... And it did come in handy once or twice as well, so... then we come to Junk Synchron, easily the worst monster of the deck. I'm possibly considering maybe bumping this up to 3, just so I have more chance of seeing it, because I saw it against the Shadow matchup, and that was it, and it was literally used as to get some to push damage. I did not see it any other way. I think, actually no, I did see it and dropped... I did Synchron Armades with it, and I think I might have seen it one other time, but it was very seldom seen. It was actually a shame, because Armades and stuff like that are really, really good cards to be able to bust out. And if you can't get your access to this primary tuner, which you pretty much need to get access to Armades, then you're pretty much screwed. So I'm probably going to max out on this as well. Onward to the spells. 3 Obedient Schooled. Opened with it enough times for it to obviously be useful. I mean, you got to run in this thing at 3, even though the second or third one are probably going to be dead. I mean, it makes for decent Valerie Fawn fodder, but maybe 3 or 4 cards out of a potential 40 card main deck as set there for the purpose of being discard fodder for one freaking monster is just kind of eh. I think that's the one thing that's throwing me off using it next week, aside from the fact that I've got a Gear deck prepared and wanted to give that a crack next week anyway. So, double Airstruck Sunrise. Opened with both of these in Kalantosa in a game once. Already said this, but it is good. It's essentially another level 2 monster in the deck, because if you go first turn because obviously it can help you go first turn Sando, you beast. So there is that. Double MST. And then Book of Moon and Raigeki. And Raigeki actually did help me out against the, the Burning Abyss matchup, ironically enough, because I actually got over a Riser. So that was kind of fun. Traps. Triple Fiendish Chain. It did not get MST'd at all today. It was relatively useful. I did stop a couple of attacks with it. I can't say that I'm disappointed with its ability. It did relatively well. Trap Stun as well. 2 of these it did relatively well as well. I managed to get round some really annoying traps and basically play with a lot of freedom with them. 2 Burst Rebirth. Still on the ropes about this. I might cut this to 1, but the problem is if I cut it to 1, it's just one of those sort of just things you'll hardly ever see. So if I do decide to cut both of them, then that makes fitting mistakes into the deck a whole lot easier. So that was that. 2 Deep Prison, because it's Deep Prison, it does shit. And then I tried a Mirror Force out. I believe I got it off once or twice. Relatively helpful, I have to admit. But most of the time I would side it out, because obviously a handful of the matchups were not ideal. Like, I got Yang Zing, Burning Abyss, Shitholes. None of those were really hampered that much by Mirror Force. 1 Breakthrough Skill. You know what? I don't think I saw this. I don't remember actually ever seeing this. So, that was lovely. Bottomless. Yeah, it's Bottomless. The 1 Wiretap, which I saw a couple of times. Soul Drain. Main deck Soul Drain. Simply because the card does not actually hurt me in any way, shape, or form. I believe the only cards in, like, Game 1 that can actually be hurt by it, or actually full stop by it, were, Frozen Fitzgerald and, Balmung. And I never saw Balmung, and I think I saw Fitz. I did actually see Fitzy once, but then he got bounced, which was a bit of a shame, but yeah, Soul Drain. This won me my game 1 against Burning Abyss. I didn't really see it that much afterward. I mean, I'll continue to maintain that this thing is better off at 2. It's just really kind of not it's not that great at 1. I think it would do a lot better at 2. I think it needs to go to 2. So, and then last card is a Compulse. Compulse is just, yeah. And on to the extra deck. Triple Signed IU. You have to run this. It's mandatory pretty much. Gives you your tokens, gives you your silly plays, soft locks, that sort of jazz. Herald of Pure Light. Probably going to cut this. Because I never saw it. I had absolutely no need for it either. Because most of the time I would have like barely any cards in my hand. So if I even did go for this, I would just grab a card out of my graveyard and put it straight back into my deck. A place where I'd rather have it in the hand. So I'm probably going to cut this for a Gachi. Don't go for So Cute Boss though. So Cute Boss is horrid. At least in this deck it is. Then Digestive Phoenix did some silly plays. And then Double Down a Magician. I actually did find the need for Double Down, I believe, against the Hat matchup. Yeah, Hat matchup. Because I needed one to get over an Honor Arc, and then I just needed the second one for just a big monster presence. So, Double Downed was definitely useful. Synchros. Balmung, never saw it. It does something. Armades, this won me my game 2, I think. Yeah, game 2 against Shadows. Fitzy, I think I saw this against Burning Abyss, and it got bounced. Junk Warrior, never saw him because I hardly ever saw Junk Synchron himself. Catasta, once again I never saw. Naturia Beast, I got the first turn Sunder Your Beast playoff, and then never saw this card again. It was terrible. Barkion, I actually did get off once. It basically was the last play I did before Shadow players scooped their game 2. It was basically just, yeah, there's the kill switch. Moving on. And then last card in the extra deck is Black Rose, which I did consider dropping at certain points, but my opponent would have benefited more from the Black Rose play than I would have. So as a result, I did not see her at all. Side deck. Double Flying Sea. This caused some shenanigans against Burning Abyss, and then did absolutely nothing else. For some reason, like when I scrub out of a tournament, I go to round 1, I do pretty fine, my side cards do well, and then I lose, and then I just scrub. It seems like a bit of a pattern for me. So it's just like, I don't know, there's something weird about this. System Down. System Down was for my prediction of a bunch of Giga decks. There were a bunch of Giga decks, didn't get drawn up against any of them, so. Third MST. Double back to square 1. I don't want to say that I'm going to just give up on this. I basically gave it a crack, just to be sort of ballsy, I suppose. Just balls out and just give this a go. It's literally just a spell card form of Wing Blast, and why would I not run Wing Blast anyway, because it's chainable and that sort of jazz. But this is just sort of those light bulb. This is one of those light bulb ideas. Didn't really work out. I believe I had this once or twice. I think I did use it once and got, I think, a Winder off the board or something like that. But I did actually find it dead in hand once and having to pitch it for Valor Fawn's effect. So that one's a little bit mixed feelings. Second Wiretap for Stellar Knight matchups if I had them. I did actually side it in against a couple of other matchups that may have potentially had something like Vanities, so that was a thing as well. 2 Iron Wall, just in case I ran into Chain Dis. I think I knew one person who was potentially playing Chain Dis, but Light Mirror, I do not believe I cited this in at all. Shadow Mirror, I didn't actually side at all against the Ghost Trick matchup, but this would definitely have been in there for the Ghost Trick matchup. Aside from that, Shadow's Burning Abyss, that's the thing. Actually, no, I did side the Light Mirrors for Hat Duck deck just to get around the artifacts. And then Chain Disappearance, which I sided in a couple of times but never saw it all, so that kind of sucked. So that was the scrubby Raccoon deck that kind of just caved in. But hopefully we'll have some better luck next week if I play next week, because it'll be Gear Gears. It'll be Gear Tricks because I'm doing Trap Tricks and I like the Trap Tricks setup. It just works well enough with the gear because it's all level 4 and shit. So hopefully I'll have some better news to report this time next week. So see you for whatever that is or whatever else I may do next.